What's up, guys? My name is Colin Moriarty. I'm editor of IGN PlayStation. I'm here with Andrew Goldfarb.
Hey,
Hello,
Colin.
Andrew. He's our news editor here on IGN. And to celebrate Mega Man's 25th anniversary, we're going to do a bunch of Mega Man commentary, starting, of course, with Mega Man 1.
The original. I know nothing about the original Mega Man. I haven't played it. I haven't really seen that much of it. This is kind of exciting.
Well, it was released in December of 1987 on the Famicom and came to the United States and the West a year later, or 2 years later, depending on where you are. And I recorded this footage yesterday, and we're sitting down and kind of commentating it over today. So let's get right into it. I went to Bomb Man Stage here, Goldfarb.
Why do you do that one first?
So Bomb Man is a good place to start in Mega Man because I think he's easy to beat. Also, his stage is somewhat easy. But Mega Man 1, much like Mega Man 2, I think, have a lot of places in which you can enter. But there's a really specific reason why you want to go to Bomb Man first, and I'll tell you about it when we get to Elec Man Stage.
Ooh, a little tease, a little foreshadowing there.
So, yeah, gameplay's not the best. What I think is interesting about Mega Man 1 over all the other Mega Man games actually is twofold. A, it's the hardest Mega Man game, I think. It's like the most cutthroat of all the Mega Man games. And it's most about keeping moving. You can be elegant and play Mega Man without getting hit, and you can beat Mega Man without getting hit, and that's all fine and great. But to me, it's all about moving and manipulating the game. And you'll see why I say manipulating the game when we get to Dr. Wily Stage specifically.
I mean, what makes this harder? Why do you feel like what do you not have in this that you have in the other games?
Well, I think there's a few things. First, you have Mega Man 2 is easy, I think, because and I think Mega Man 2 is by far the easiest Mega Man game, is because you have the Metal Blade, which is like the most ubiquitous of all Mega Man weaponry, of course. And also, I just think that the game is more forgiving. I think that this game came from a time where games were just brutally hard. And obviously, all the Mega Man games on NES came from that similar time, but I think this game kind of conveys that difficulty the best out of all of them. So as we're going here, there's a few things worth noting, of course, Goldfarb, that you might have noticed that you won't see. Hold on, I like this over here where you have to keep running because he's right behind you.
Oh, wow. Very tense.
There's a score in Mega Man 1, which is not shared in any of the other Mega Man games. That is, again, a sign of the times. I think they abandoned it in all the other Mega Man games, but still very interesting.
Or do people do today, like, score runs and stuff? Like, I mean...
you could max out and I think even flip the score, and I'm sure that if you go to the official scoreboards or whatever, that you would find people competing on that. But I think, just like with any Mega Man game, Mega Man 1 is all about speedrunning it.
And what about these enemies? I mean, are these enemy types that ever kind of recur?
Yeah, so that green enemy that just glitched out here on the side of the screen, Sniper Joe, he's in, most Mega Man games in one way or the other. Most aggressive here. As you can see at that point, it was easiest just to run through him. And Mega Man 1, of course, is the only Mega Man game to include kind of enemies and a big area between the stage door, the enemy stage doors, which is not found in any other games. So here we have the Mohawk, the Bomb Man. And what's interesting about Bomb Man, Goldfarb, is if you stay close to him, he'll keep jumping. So you want to try to stay on top of him. You can actually get him to jump back and forth like that over and over again if you're real slick. And he can never throw a bomb at all. But easy enough to beat with the Mega Buster. Done. One stage done.
That didn't seem that bad.
No.
I mean, I feel like I probably never would have made it that far.
No.
I mean, it's interesting
Maybe
that
you would have.
It's interesting that they're... Well, thank you. I appreciate your faith in me. But it's interesting that there are enemies between those doors to the boss, because that's normally like your safe haven. That's normally where you take a second and you're like, all right, which skill am I equipping? Like, what am I going to do here? And like, you don't really have that moment of calm, which is crazy.
So we go to Gutsman next.
And do you play the same order every time?
I do. You could jump in with Cutman, go Cutman, Elec Man, Iceman, Fireman, wrap around that way, and finish with Gutsman. But I, again, like to go with Bomb Man. And there's, again, I'm going to show you a specific reason why that is in a little while. So what's interesting, do you know the story about Mega Man, Goldfarb? You know the Mega Man story a little bit?
I know the basics, but you can give me a refresher.
Well, I think that, again, in portrayal of the story, I think Mega Man does a nice job because the enemies... The 6 robot masters, as they were, all have like a function in society, and Dr. Wily and Dr. Light built them together, and then Dr. Wily rather reprogrammed them. So Gutsman's like a construction robot for construction sites, and that's why you're at a construction site here in the original Mega Man. So we're going. An enemy you won't find much of in any of the other games.
Pickaxe Man.
I screwed this one up here a little bit, I think. Yeah.
You're doing okay. All right, how about the items and stuff? Are they basically the same?
Yeah, so those little orbs are point orbs, and those are only in this game because there's only points in this game.
Right.
And you find big and little weapon and energy capsules, but they look different in this game than they do in the other Mega Man games.
Still E-tanks and everything?
There's no E-tanks in this game either, so You are shit out of luck.
That is brutal.
So these big robots, again, just easiest to run through them. The reason you run at them is because sometimes they jump very high in the air and you can get underneath them, but they do an incredible amount of damage when they strike you, which is unfortunate. And what you were saying about these kind of stages, these kind of areas in between the doors, the boss doors, can be manipulated in this game to your advantage because you can run back and forth. Since the NES's memory was so limited, the enemies will respawn if they're off screen, so you can actually farm them for items if you need to. So there is one advantage to that. So what's interesting about Gutsman is you have to keep jumping. If you'll bounce like that if he jumps and you're not in the air. So you want to keep in the air because then he can nail you like that. And he's nailing me here, but you got to get the hyper bombs out. You only need to hit him 3 times with it. And what sucks here is well, he didn't get it off at that point. He can still throw the rock as he's dying, and it can still kill you. So you need to be wary of that as well. That's something that disappeared in other Mega Man games where everything just stopped, so that that wouldn't happen.
That's such like an old school game thing where you can just lose all your progress in that moment. Oh man. So in this boss order, you're doing this because each enemy is weak to the power of the previous enemy.
Exactly, and that's why you want to jump in and do it. Mega Man 2 is the only game where it gets a little screwed up, where you can kind of use the Mega Buster, which is Mega Man's standard weapon against all of the foes. Well, not all of them, but about half of them pretty easily. Bubble Man, Flash Man, Metal Man, Air Man. You can kill them all with the Mega Buster pretty easily. But what's interesting too, and I don't know if you've noticed it, because we've only gone about halfway through the order now, is that the boss order makes some sense. I mean, Mega Man is based on rock, paper, scissors in a way, and like what's strong and weak to what. So if you think about it, Bomb Man goes to Guts Man, and Guts Man is like, you blow up the rocks, and then with Guts Man's weapon, which is the ability to throw rocks, that like crushes Cut Man's scissors, and then the scissors cut Elec Man's wires, and Elec Man's like electricity melts Iceman, and Iceman's ice injures fire and stuff like that. And so there is a logic, a Mega Man logic, is a word for him.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, if I built robots, they would just be impervious to all of those things.
Yeah, I don't understand why he would, why they insist on making them weak, and they do it over and over again, but it's part of Mega Man's flair.
Well, it's really just Wily not learning from his mistakes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's interesting that these are, more so than other Mega Man games, are just such straight-up platformers. Like, it seems like this is much more like basic platforming than some of the other Mega Man games.
It is, and I think the game's just sterile, too. I mean, look at that background. It's just blue, turquoise, whatever. The Mega Man games, I mean, by the time you get to 6, the stages have become so ornate, which is awesome, that... the games, I mean, I think Mega Man 1 looks radically different from all the other games. I think it's obvious that it's the first game in the series. Look at that slowdown.
And that slowdown is, I mean, you said you're used to the points of slowdown. You kind of know when to expect them at this point.
Yeah, there are specific parts in 2 and 3 especially where the game slows down all the time and you're used to it. Some might say it's actually advantageous, so you get to react and stuff like that. But you're like, this is kind of unique in that you're causing the slowdown because there are enemies on the stage, but also because I'm shooting so much. Because there's just too many moving items.
I know, like in, what was it, Mega Man 4, you said you're constantly charging and getting ready to shoot. I mean, do you have any strategy like that in 1? Is there anything you can really do constantly, or do you just kind of go as you see enemies?
No, I mean, you kind of just anticipate where the enemies are. There are some enemies, like those big robots are sponges, for instance, and it's hard to prepare for those kinds of enemies, and it's hard to kind of game the system in that sense, but... just kind of knowing where the enemies are. I think you'll see in Wily's Castle later that there are areas where you're just spamming before the enemies even get on the screen, so you can just kill them immediately. Just because that's anticipation. That's playing the game and knowing where everything is. And again, like you don't want to dick around. You just want to kind of get going here. Right. Again, you're gonna run into another one of these enemies. You can try to run at them and try to get under them, but it doesn't matter. Cutman's easy.
Yeah, Mega Man's one of those games where it's actually to your advantage to not really stop and fight every enemy. You just need to get to the end.
Yeah, cut your losses. So some guns here. You may remember in Street Fighter Cross Mega Man, which we just reviewed not too long ago, that those guns appear in that game.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of these enemy types are a little bit similar.
So the interesting thing about Cutman is that Gutman's weapon allows you to pick up these blocks here, and there's only 2 of them. If you strike Cutman with both of them, he's dead, but if you miss, as I'm going to miss here, then you're only going to kill him with half, and then you have to revert to the Mega Buster to finish him off. But that's not really a big deal, because Cutman's pretty predictable. He'll throw his boomerang at you, but he'll chase it, so you can try to kind of get around it and keep him back by shooting at him. So Cutman's dead. That's 3 of 6.
He didn't last long.
No.
It's interesting that those blocks are there, so it really is kind of, that is the proper order. Like, that's not a preference thing or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you'll find them in other stages too. We're going to go to Elec Man Stage next. And you'll find them there as well. But yeah, they kind of is a tipping point. I mean, I think they're actually in Gutman's level too. If you want to go back, I guess, and fight him again with them. Not really sure what the outcome of that is.
And there are less bosses here than other Mega Man games.
Yeah, there's 6 here, and there's 8 in all the other Mega Man games. And in Mega Man Powered Up, which is a remake of the original Mega Man on PSP, they added Time Man and Oil Man to make 8. So here, these little enemies here that I'm fighting somewhat fruitlessly can be stopped by firing at them with the Mega Buster in place. And if you land on a platform next to them, they'll chase you. But you can use the rolling cutters from Cutman to do away with them if you'd like.
Now, why is Mega Man in black and white here?
Because he's Mega Man's color always changes when he's equipped with another
right.
enemy's weapon. Also, if we just take a moment to listen, this is really one of the first classic Mega Man tracks that's very popular, Elec Man Stage.
It's still, even the music, though, is definitely simpler than in 2 and 3.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
But
it's
I mean,
still awesome.
All of that said, exactly, like, this is still, like, a really impressive, like, first installment of a series.
Definitely.
And so many of the iconic elements are still here.
So with these green floating enemies, you kind of want to preempt them if they shoot lightning at you. Here's the very first appearance of the infamous floating blocks that appear in most Mega Man games that give people fits. They're pretty easy here. They get a little more complicated in Ice Man Stage and get a little wild in other places too. And in Heat Man Stage in Mega Man 2 is probably the place where they get the craziest.
I mean, I know you spent so much time with Mega Man 2 and 3. Would you say your time with 1 compares to that? Like, are you as familiar with this?
No, I think that 1 is probably the Mega Man game I'm worst at. I've spent a lot of time with it. I've beaten it scores of times, no doubt, but it's not like a game I've studied like Mega Man 2 and 3, for instance. And it's just a downright challenging game. You just got to learn. It's brutal. So we're going. There's 2 paths up here. Now, remember when I told you that we were going to get to a point where we went to Elec Man Stage at this point intentionally instead of starting with Cutman? It's because, as you're going to see, I got all screwed up here from the electricity, not paying attention. As you're going to see here, there's a weapon, an item here, it's, the Magnet Beam. And the only way to get it is with Elec Man's weapon or with Gutman's weapon to move those away. So you're going to need to beat him first before coming here. You're going to have to come back to get it because you must have that item in Wily's Castle. And that was something that confounded people back in the day when the game came out because they weren't quite sure what they were supposed to do. So that's the very specific reason why I don't start with Cutman and I start with Bombman, is because of that.
Interesting.
Yes.
And what is that item?
It's the Magnet Beam. It's I think I use it up here a little bit. It creates platforms, basically. It's like a very rudimentary form, I guess, of the items that they call the 3 items in Mega Man 2 and before Rush was available.
I mean, so sorry if this is a stupid question, but is that one of few occasions where you get an item like that without fighting a Robot Master?
Yeah, I think it's... Well, until Mega Man 4. In Mega Man 4, you get a couple of items that you can find in hidden parts of the stage. But yeah, until that point, yes. Yes. Oh. And you saw it used a little bit there. Right. And I'll use it here, too, just to look at that flicker. So it's basically just a platform.
Yeah, there's so many items like that throughout these classic Mega Man games where, like, you cannot progress unless you have an item that will give you kind of like a makeshift platform.
So again, I don't think there's one example of me in this video getting underneath one of these guys. But it's okay. Now, the problem here, when I was playing, I was like, I might be in trouble because Elec Man is extremely powerful. He hits you 3 times and you're dead. So you have to do away with him quickly, and I just so happened to have gotten hit once by him and only had 1 bar of energy left, which you'll see. And this is also the most annoying and unfarmable entranceway to a boss fight. So we'll get into Elec Man. I also like how you come up, like just in Bombman Stage, you come down on it, you come up on this one, which is cool. That's not something you see in the other games. All right, so here we are with Elec Man. Easy to beat. Like I said, very powerful. Use the rolling cutters on him. 3 hits and he's dead, but if he hits you 3 times, you're dead. He got me once there, Goldfarb, but I survived with a mere sliver of health left.
It's about as close as it gets.
It is. It is as close as it gets. So I get my points for beating Elec Man. Now we are 4/6 of the way through the Robot Masters here, and so we will move on to Iceman.
I was going to say the percentage that would be, but it took me this long to count to what percentage.
What is it?
It's 4 out of 6 would be 2 out of 3, 2/3.
Yes. Very good.
Math with Goldfarb.
Fractions.
That'll be our next one.
So I always like this stage because I had no idea what the hell was really going on. I mean, there's you assume this was a tropical location that Iceman had went in and screwed up because of the trees. And I'm screwing this up too because I'm fighting these enemies. You want to hit him in the head. If you hit him in the stomach, the head detaches into a little robot, which you will then have to deal with. Also, Goldfarb, noticed that I'm in water here, but I'm not getting extra lift. This is the only game, Mega Man game, where you don't get an amazing amount of lift by being in water. That begins on Bubble Man Stage in Mega Man 2. Onward, onward. Penguin enemies, no idea why those exist.
And Dr. Wily is a creative guy.
Yeah, they're not really clear ever, I don't think, in the lore if Wily is creating all of these enemies like in Mega Man 1, because they created Light created him with them. In Mega Man 2 and onward, I guess it's a given that he created all of them, but I don't really know if like they created if all of these enemies had like a purpose at some point.
Yeah, like what were the propeller penguins used for?
So as you can see here, I'm struggling trying to just kill this thing, get out of the way, the rolling cutter. And I'll break out the Magna Beam just to kind of help myself out here on these floating blocks. Again, a pretty easy puzzle. You kind of it's kind of muscle memory in a sense. And then down the chute.
Nicely done. A lot of falling in Mega Man.
Yeah, there is a lot of falling. That's true. Rolling cutters back out to kind of deal with this guy again if we can. Miss him. I don't know how many times I missed him. Probably 17 times. Again, with all the floating blocks, the enemy and the rolling cutter. Yeah, just ignore him.
And again, like, sometimes that's the best strategy, is just to get the hell past them.
Yeah, that I screwed up. Yeah, and then here is the part where you kind of just go full bore with the Magna Beam. You don't even mess around. You don't want to deal. Those guys are such a pain in the ass.
Yeah, just
because they're shooting.
Right.
Yeah, because they're shooting at you, and the bounce off of getting hit is so severe in Mega Man. There's like no. It's almost as bad as like the old Castlevanias. I'm sure old school gamers will understand that.
Oh wow! Nice little cache of items there.
Yeah, get some weapon capsules, some energy capsules. We're almost Iceman. Do a little bounce. Again, one of these guys.
Man, these guys are the worst.
Again, he was giving me all that leverage to get under him and still got hit. Very rusty with the original Mega Man. Hopefully the gameplay's a little better when we do Mega Man 2 and 3. I'm sure it will be. Break out the Elec Beam. But I'm probably going to go back to the Mega Buster. Too soon. Going, going, going.
Yeah, a lot of. I mean, you're right. You're getting a lot of items from these rooms, at least.
Yeah, and you can farm them as much as you want, so there is an advantage to it, even though it's kind of un-Mega Man, in a way. Iceman himself, very formulaic enemy. Just hammer him with the Elec Beam and he's finished.
Looks a little like the Ice Climbers.
Yeah, he does. Jump out of that, because again, those items can still hit you. Yep.
That's crazy.
And we are all the way through except for Fireman Stage, which we'll go to next.
He fights fires, I assume. He just
Yes.
Volunteer firefighter.
Yep, that's correct. That's correct. Yeah, Fireman's interesting. First robot master with 2 arm cannons, no hands, which is interesting. I don't know how he does anything, but
yeah, how does he eat dinner?
I don't know. He doesn't pick things up.
Your score's getting pretty high here.
Yeah.
About to cross 500K.
So yeah, there we go. I'm not sure how to flip the score in this game. I'm not sure if you can. I think you can. You get them, presumably. I'm sure nerds back in the late 80s were doing it. And I'm sure people continue to do it to this day. But if you get to all 9s, it probably flips. Though I'm not positive about that. These guys look like Fry Guys, by the way, from Mario 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, perish there. Back we go.
There are no checkpoints or anything, right?
There are checkpoints. We didn't go far enough in the stage to hit them.
Is the double door still a checkpoint?
Yes, of course. And there's a strategy to dying before the last boss, which I do sometimes at the end of Mega Man. I'm not sure if I did it on this particular playthrough because Mega Man 1 is interesting in the sense that as long as you don't use a continue on a stage that you're on, you can basically game the system like that weapon pellet or that energy pellet above me. I can climb up and down the ladder here and spawn it over and over again if I wanted to. So at the end of the game, as you'll see, there's like weapon pellets, and if you die, you can basically just farm them. So there's a strategy to dying at some point. If you're not speedrunning the game, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, we'll use the ice here to freeze these flames if we want, so you can freeze them. And then you can use, if you don't do it right, a magnet beam to get up and grab these things if you want, but it's a good way to get around those and also get leverage over these horizontal fire shooting things.
That's amazing for even a game from this far back. Like, just the way you interact with the environment is so smart. Like, even just little touches like that, like freezing because again, you don't have to have that freeze ability here, you know? That's something you chose to get.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes the game, I think, truly special. Mega Man is a unique game, I think, still. That was way ahead of its time. And I think in some ways still ahead of its time because it's all about gameplay, but it's also riveting in more ways than that, you know?
And also has a really interesting lore behind it, I mean, especially this first one.
Yeah, I mean, they get away from it a little bit, and then it kind of becomes a parody of itself, you know, as Wily just keeps doing the same things over and over again. But that's kind of the charm, I think, of Mega Man, in a way. Is that, you know, Wily's incorrigible and, you know, not doing very well over here.
Well, just like you were saying, that bounce when you get hit, like you're going back so far.
Yeah, it could ruin everything, ruin your day. I mean, that's what happened when I died earlier.
Yeah, those platforms can barely accommodate it.
Now, if you don't have the magnet beam here, you have to find a way through this. It's hard to do. Yeah, I missed on the magnet beam, I think, twice. But it's hard to do. It does a lot of damage, so it's good to have the magnet beam here. Another reason to go in this specific order.
How would you even get through that? You would just have to run.
You can time it. You definitely can time it. It's not easy. Now, these particular things explode when you kill them, so you want to stay away from them if you can. And here's an interesting way to game 8-bit games. It doesn't always work, but it usually works. You can get them to scroll off the screen, and then they disappear. I think I tried to do it again here, though, and it doesn't work. Let's see. I'm glad I recorded these, and then we did the commentary, though, Goldfar, because I would have been too distracted to talk.
Right. That's what I figured.
So here we are.
It takes a lot of focus. I mean, especially when it's like you haven't played this particular Mega Man in so long.
So again, you can freeze them. No reason to really do that here. Just showing you can do it. If I was speedrunning, I would have reset this game a year ago. But we're showing the people. By the way, this is available right now on 3DS as well, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. And the other ones are soon to follow, right?
Yep. And 1 through 6 will all be available on 3DS soon. And you can download 1 through 5, I think, on Wii, and 1 through 6 Japanese versions on PlayStation Network as PS1 classics. So Fireman is kind of where you just have to trade blows with him because he just keeps shooting his thing, and it's not even worth trying to avoid it. And you can just do away with him quickly. Again, stay away from that fire. And what was cool there, I don't know if you saw it, was it quickly turned into letters. Kind of see the code behind everything.
Oh, wow.
As it made, you know. So here we are with Wily.
The man himself.
His UFO will come and grab him. 200,000 points for getting through Wily Stage. But there's a few stages to get through. So let's begin in earnest.
I love the eyebrows going.
Yeah, he's awesome. Wily's a great character.
Again, just that sterile background, though.
Yep. So more of these guys get underneath it. Excuse me, burping.
Oh.
Not good. But I'm going to show you a little trick here. You can use ice on these guys, too, to kind of freeze them. I'm not sure if it works here or not. I think it does. Yeah, so froze him too low. But if he's frozen, you can then switch to the Mega Buster and just kind of pound him.
Because, my instinct was to say, why don't you just slide under him, but you can't do that.
Yeah, you can't slide until Mega Man 3. Still got hit by him.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage, too.
Yeah, they do an insane amount of damage. I think you only get hit maybe 4 times, it looks like. So what's cool about Wily's Castle and Mega Man 1 as well is that it forces you often to use the weapons that you acquire. And you'll use them here to freeze these little fire things to get through them. You use the Guts Beam there, or the Guts Super Arm as it's called, to get those blocks out of the way. And you can use the Elec Beam on those too if you want. I think I try here to do what's really hard, which is to get like pixel perfect jump to get that thing. I think I fail. Yeah.
Oof, close though. I like that little one step at a time thing though. Because there are places where that's exactly what you have to do to get up there.
For sure.
Could you not have used the Magnet Beam there?
No, you could have gotten through without using any of the weapons if you wanted to. You had to have used the Super Arm though. These things are just a pain, and so this will force me. If I had good energy here, I would just go straight to the bottom. But I'm gonna go up here and take care of these guys, so I can get that energy because I'm gonna need it. So we go to the Elec Beam, just get rid of that like that, which you can also do, and then use the Magnet Beam to jump up.
And when you call it, what was it, the Super Arm you called it? Like, where does that name come from?
I don't know.
Just kind of part of the expanded Mega Man universe?
I think that maybe in the instruction manual it was called that. I'm sure at some point in other iterations of the game, whether you release them on PlayStation Network or or PS1 rather in Japan. They probably gave them proper names. So here we are here. These guys, you got to kind of take it slow here. The spikes obviously will kill you in one hit, so you don't want to fall on them. Slow and steady wins the race, Goldfarb.
It's true. It's so awesome that there's no, if you play the game right now from, 2012, there would be tutorials popping up every 10 seconds. This game gives you one letter. You have to know what each of those skills is. Like, that's just amazing to me.
It's awesome. So we'll use the magnet beam here to kind of just get through and shoot right through. Now here's, I'm going to wait for this to disappear so I can get these pellets. But if I went up and down the ladder here, if I wanted to, I can make them reappear over and over again. That's not something you can do in future Mega Man games, so it's quite useful. And the reason they do that is because of this very specific area where you have to have the magnet beam to get through. So, and I'm going to mess it up here and have to go back down. So if I did that over and over again and I ran out, I could actually drop back down and just farm those. Otherwise, this would be impassable. So it's actually pretty smart design.
So could you even come in here if you didn't have the
You could, but then you'd have to die and go back to Elec Man Stage to get it.
Imagine how frustrating that must have been back in the day for people who just didn't know.
Yeah, I mean that's the specific room where you must have it.
Yeah.
So we're almost to the first boss now. Goldfarb, I'm going to teach you the most infamous of all cheats in Mega Man games, and it is super cheap, and I love using it.
I'm ready.
It has to do with the Elec beam and starting and pausing the game over and over again. And you'll see what I'm going to do with it here. So this is the rock monster. He's a famous Mega Man enemy. He's in like almost all the Mega Man games. In Wily's castle. Getting killed. So you see the Elec beam there does a little bit of damage here. I played it on Wii. Spoiler. So that does a little bit of damage, good damage here. But if I want to kill him with one beam, I could do it. And the reason that is because you can start and stop the game, and the Elec beam will do damage to him every time. You see?
Wow.
So it's like one of the most notorious cheats in Mega Man games.
That's crazy. Yeah, so as it's going through him, you're basically... That's nuts.
And you use it on 3 enemies in Wily's castle, so it's great. It's a great tool. The game is very hard. You can totally beat it. I could beat it easily with with some practice without using that cheat, but that cheat is inherent and you should use it. It's there. Yeah,
I mean that's what's so cool about these games is that you know it's there and like that's just part of it. Any skilled player probably knows it and uses it.
Yeah, I mean in speedruns and stuff, it's a godsend. So these guys are a pain. Kind of playing with them a little bit. He's playing back with me.
They're so happy though.
They are. They're thrilled.
They love their job.
God, they're just annoying. Plus, if you scroll off the screen, you're getting all screwed. I go down here to get this thing. Another enemy shows up. Pixel perfect. Almost knocks me out. We're going.
It's very stressful watching this.
So I use the magnet beam here to try to get these things because there's a hole in the floor here that you don't see. But I still, it really was kind of for naught. And here's where you begin to fight the enemies again now. So in other Mega Man games, you get the capsule rooms where you fight them in really any order you want as long as you know which capsule to go in. Here you kind of meet them in order. So you're going to get Cutman here, and you can fight him with fire if you want. I choose, or not fire, rather, guts, except for the fact that there's no rocks here, so you have to use the arm cannon. And then we drop down and we continue on. Again, sterile backgrounds. Not really sure what it's supposed to represent. The sky, I assume.
A little darker, though, than earlier.
Yep, maybe it's getting a little later there and wherever the hell. I always wonder why those castles were being built and why people were letting them get away with it.
Minnesota, I believe.
Minnesota? So the Elec beam goes vertically as well as horizontally, so it's good on those kind of enemies, and I'm just going to kind of use the magnet beam here. I think I failed this time. Yeah, I don't do it enough. Jump in. Here is where you're going to fight Elec Man. This could be dangerous. Use the rolling cutters. Keep him back. And running into Elec Man is preferable to getting hit by the Elec beam, so that's good. But you could, depending on your timing, you can actually hit him with the rolling cutter twice with one hit on the way back if you're good.
I am impressed seeing you just go through these levels, though. I mean, with relatively few deaths.
Oof. Yeah, so my timing's not quite up to par here. Granted, I jumped right into this game without having... I don't know when the last time I played the original Mega Man, probably a couple of years ago, so a little rusty, but I'm not ashamed of this gameplay at all. I think it's pretty good. If I wanted to use the magnet beam to get that extra life, I could do it, but the extra life is not really something I need. So again, we can toil through these guys if we want. I do toil with them manually. You could use the Elec beam to get rid of them quickly too.
But you're trying to save up, is that the idea?
Yeah, just make it a little more fun maybe. Yeah, the Elec beam gets a little more precarious later on with the Elec beam because you're going to use it a lot, but So you like just use them here, get rid of them quick. And maybe you luck out and get a capsule that fills up your energy if you want.
Yeah, I mean, this is a point where I assume you would be ready to use an E-Tank in a later Mega Man game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, again, no E-Tanks. You are on your own. There is a specific item you can get later on, if you'd like. That will fill up everything for you once, but it does it automatically at that time. So here's where I'm really being wasteful with the Elec Beam. Stupidly wasteful. Especially because I'm going to need it when I fight a clone of myself, Goldfarb.
What? Ooh, that's a cool background.
Yeah. So, little machines come down, clone me. Now, whatever weapon I use, he'll use too, so it's really complicated, and so the Elec Beam is good to use here. Some people like to use the arm cannon, because it's makes sense. But if you want to do the cheat, which I do here, starting and selecting, using select to pause the game. Again, the only classic Mega Man game you can pause.
Does this make his damage hurt you just as often too?
It can, I think, a little bit, but you disappear. Part of it is that you disappear when you see?
Wow.
So it does make you invulnerable. And I'm going to have to shoot another beam. The beam has gone through him all the way, so you have to stop and kind of get him repositioned here. So again, we'll do it, and that's the end of him.
Man. That was a pretty long fight compared to some of the other ones, though.
Yeah, he's complicated. If you're fighting him straight up mano a mano, man, bring your A game. Yeah. Tell you what. Yeah, I like the background here. It's like a discotheque.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is where I would want to fight a clone of myself.
Oh, of course, of course. And we're getting towards the end now.
Wait, is that supposed to be stone on the outside? What are you looking
I don't know. Sand, maybe?
Yeah.
I always kind of thought.
So you're underground?
Yeah, yeah. Presumably. I mean, who knows what Wily's got up his sleeve here. So this is the problem where being wasteful with the Elec Beam kind of comes into play here. I could use it more wantonly here if I wanted to, but I just don't have enough of it. And it can be refilled later before I need it again for a boss, but it's still a problematic thing. And remember, I've only fought 2 of the Robot Masters so far, so I still have to fight 4 of them. Yeah, we'll do that in a little while.
Very broken up compared to other Mega Man games where it's back to back to back to back.
So here's where I was telling you a little bit earlier, Goldfarb, that it makes sense to just fire like this. And the reason you want to do that is because these enemies kind of show up and you can kind of just get them right away, depending on where you aim. Just kind of spread your shot out a little bit. As you can see, I'm kind of going slow and starting. Mega Man's getting pushed to the right automatically. You can push to the right yourself to make him go faster, but if you're not speeding around in the game, it's better to just be safe and not lose any health.
And you've talked to me before about how you can fire these in very specific spots because of the hit zone in Mega Man.
Yeah, depending on the enemy, it just makes more sense to do that. Spreading your shot out, make sure that every one of them counts on enemies that take more than 1 hit to kill, which none of these guys do, but this is kind of spreading your shot out to make sure that, no risk there. So this is an enemy where you want to use a super arm. This is like a bubble machine. You have to kill 7 of them. And they come out faster and faster. So it makes sense to kill the first 3 with your arm cannon and then save the blocks for the others, since they move faster and faster, become more and more complicated to deal with. And this is just an awful playthrough as far as getting hit and stuff like that. But so now that he's taken 3/7 of his damage, is where you can break out the arm and get the blocks. And there's actually a glitch here where I had a 5th block, so I didn't actually have to go that far. But I didn't know that was going to happen.
Has that happened to you before?
Yeah, it happens. It happens somewhat often in the game where those blocks exist, but didn't know it was going to happen there. So anticipated the worst, got the best.
Yeah.
We're almost through. This is the last stage in the game. And again, you want to take these guys out.
Becoming much more industrial.
We're climbing more of these guys. Yeah, again, still very barren, like not a very good-looking game compared to other Mega Man games. Engine's the same, but not quite as much love. Maybe the tech just wasn't there on the Famicom at that point. So here, I think is where I'm going to die when I get this special item, which I will show you.
And that's the one that recovers everything you were talking about?
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, this is what happens. You see Gutsman's little things up there on the stage, which is kind of cool. Not really sure what that's all about.
It's like gargoyles or something.
Yeah, so I think I used the Magma Beam here and die, if I remember correctly. No, maybe not. Okay. Yeah, so this little pinwheel-looking item on the bottom right of the screen, if you can get it, it refills everything automatically. And then you can kind of take the little train back and be okay and kind of just continue up through this portal here. But I actually die here. Very sloppy. So it doesn't matter, though, because I'm brought back to the beginning of the stage. But if when I press start in a little while, everything will be filled up, which is nice. And I think at this point during the playthrough, I was just anxious to finish.
Understandably. I mean, I think when you're not going for a speed run or a no-hit run or whatever, it's probably more about, strategy. It's more about, which item to use, which weapon to use, and you're not really as concerned with, like, the finer points of, okay, I can't get hit in this level, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah, it's Mega Man, I mean, just like any game, is kind of about the game you play for yourself. I mean, the idea is to beat the game, but there's so many different ways to play it.
Sure.
Arm cannon dueling is one of the best ways to do it, where you just play with the arm cannon unless the game forces you not to. Which is fun.
When you do that, just are some enemies invulnerable?
Yeah, like Mega Man 2, the last boss, for instance, requires Bubble Lead, which is Bubble, or some people call it Bubble Lead, which is Bubble Man's weapon. You must use it, but otherwise you don't have to. So there's kind of like arbitrary rules. And just like all the other items, that pinwheel shows up again, but you don't need it. So we're going to be fighting the 4 remaining bosses in order here now. You got to make quick work of them. So I have fire this time, so I can use it against Bomb Man. Before I had to fight him with my with just my arm cannon. And you can see the little thing that revolves around me does damage to him too. And unlike other Mega Man games, when you beat the boss, you don't get a little energy capsule, so you're just going straight through, which is tough. Especially because Fireman does so much damage.
Yeah, this game's way less forgiving than some. I mean, and
sure.
the other Mega Man games are notoriously not very forgiving, so that's saying something.
Yeah, this is, I think, the most brutal Mega Man game, like, no doubt about it. And then Iceman, break out the Elec Beam again. And again, instead of jumping through it and avoiding it, you just get the hell out of there. And then finally, Gutsman, who's a little easier to fight here because there's not an uneven room to deal with, but it's smaller. So you gotta be careful. So throw the Hyper Bombs at him. Acquire from Bomb Man, do away with them.
Yeah, he's pinned against a wall this time, so it's a little easier.
Yeah, a little easier there. So we're almost to Wily. Now this is, I think I do die. I think I try to give him a fight, but see these 2 items here that are going to show up, or I guess 1 item, will refill some of your energy, so you'll have it. If you die, you start at that last portal again, and that will be there again. So you can kind of refill and try your luck. And I think I did try my luck beating Wily here, but I think I die, and then we'll have to do it again. So let's see what happens. You can use the cheat again, but you have to fight that little red orb that's shooting the balls is what you have to hit. And since it's moving, it's harder to aim. I probably should have just killed myself here, but I was trying to get go of it.
It's okay. Fortune favors the bold and all that.
So you see, because he's moving backwards, he's actually staying within the range of the Elec Beam, making it even more damaging to him. So that's 1 form done, and then you have to kill the other form, and this is where he gets me. Okay, so he does away with me. Now I'll begin again back at that last portal. We can go through again, equip the Elec Beam, and he should be no problem this time around.
Almost full and everything.
Yep.
Do you use the Elec Beam the entire fight?
Yeah, you could use. I think he's weak against rolling cutters at some point, and the fire at some point too. But because of the cheat, you want to use the Elec Beam.
Would you say that's the best weapon in the game because of that?
Yeah, I think it's like the Metal Blade of Mega Man 1. It's not nearly as versatile as the Metal Blade, but. So again, we're just doing away with him. No mercy. No quarter, as it were.
He spent so much money building the spaceship, and you just wantonly.
Yeah, well, I don't know where he gets his money. I don't know where he gets his funds. I don't know what his motivation is. I don't know.
Probably got a grant.
He got a grant?
Yeah, I would guess.
And then again, you want to hit that little red little orb. That's his weak spot. And again, he's moving right into it. So we're going to let him go here. And 2 forms of Wily and no more.
Boom.
And then he'll beg for forgiveness as he always does. Huh?
Didn't get insurance on that thing?
No, probably not. Probably not. They're probably uninsurable. And then we go into the ending. So let's let it roll.
Kind of cool seeing the original instance of this.
The promised 200,000 points for beating him.
This ending seems to make a little more sense than some of the ones where he's just randomly wandering.
Until all destructive forces are defeated. A little Mountain Vista. Famous fight Mega Man for everlasting peace quote. And then the credits roll.
Of course, with Inafune's name. It's crazy. It's crazy seeing this. Like, it was cool reliving this for sure, or living this, I should say, because there's no way I ever beat this back in the day.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. As you'll see, a lot of the names are basically pen names, as it were. Or, a lot of companies were afraid that they would lose their talent, like NF King is Inafune.
Oh,
They were afraid that if they put their real names, that people would come and poach them, basically. So early on in development and game development, and especially in Japan, you didn't use your real name typically.
wow, that's really interesting.
And there's Mega Man without his gear on. Something you see very often.
Going for a jog down at the sea yard.
Yeah, it's like really confusing, like, and how they're posturing Mega Man in this game. Yuka-chan's Papa. And then we're home here. There's Roll and Dr. Light. And my favorite part, presented by Capcom USA, random comma. Anyway, Go For It, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
We're going to go on to Mega Man 2 now. Thank you for watching. Beyond.